Did you see that game last night?
Ooh, instant classic.
I can't believe how much Burton was sweating in the ninth. You could see each bead dripping off his brow.
I didn't see him sweating.
My girlfriend was blown away by his clear skin. She kept going on and on about what his daily regime is. It was pretty impressive. I'm sure you noticed that.
Yeah, I didn't notice his smooth skin.
Either you don't have a girlfriend or you don't have DirecTV.
I don't have either, actually.
Wow. Really?
Live sports that aren't in 4K are just kinda TV. Only DirecTV has the most live sports in 4K. Don't just kinda TV, DirecTV. Switch from Dish and get a $100 reward card. Limited 4K programming available. Requires entertainment package or higher and compatible equipment. Reward card with 24-month agreement. Maintain service and redeem within 75 days. Card within 4 weeks. And 6/30/2019. Select markets only. Requires 2-room setup. Minimum $47 per month for 12 months after discount. Price is higher in second year. New residential customers only. Equipment lease, activation, installation, early termination, equipment non-return, and other charges and restrictions apply.
Good morning, Hank. Jim Feist and Hank Goldberg here in Las Vegas. How are you today, Hank?
I'm good, Jim. I was up early this morning talking to horse trainers for the Belmont. I got to spend some time with Todd Fletcher on the phone. Todd called me back, which was nice. He's got 2 horses in the Belmont, and he's always generous with his time to me. We go back a long way together, and spoke to the trainer of Bourbon War. He's a little baffled by what happened to his horse in the Preakness. Got a sense from talking to him that when a guy says he's got to get organized, I don't think it was his call to run his horse in the Belmont. Although he didn't say that, that's what I'm gathering from our conversation. I talked to Todd about Intrepid Heart, who's lightly raced. He's only had 3 races, but he's by Tappet, who sired 3 Belmont winners, and oddly, Todd has actually won 3 Belmonts. I said that 3 is quite a number. It affects both of you, and Todd said that's an interesting angle. But Intrepid Heart, he said he was disappointed with his performance in the Peter Pan because he broke poorly. He almost went down, and every time he tried to Velasquez tried to make a move on him, he wasn't focused. So he's putting blinkers on him. And I said, he's only had 3 races, Todd. Why do you think that he can make the Belmont distance? And he said, well, I wish he had a little more experience, but when we bought him, we thought he was going to be good for this race, and so we put him at longer distances in each of his 3 races. Went to a mile and 16th, then to a mile and an eighth, which was the Peter Pan distance, and he probably could have finished second if he had run a little bit with more focus in that race, because he was catching up to Sir Winston, who ran second in the Peter Pan, and he is a closer. But Todd thinks that his breeding by Tappet will help him, and but he did admit that they wished he had a little more experience. And I think Tacitus is the horse to beat, and if people will call in, I'll tell them how they might be able to make some money. I've got a couple of long shots who I think might hit the board race.
That's right. Just go to jimfeist.com. Hank's plays will be there in baseball, basketball, and of course the Belmont and other races. It's great. And we got a big basketball game tonight, Hank. We've got a very injured, banged up Golden State Warriors, and we have an embarrassed Toronto Raptor team that's coming in there after losing their home court advantage in Game 2. Now, Golden State's they're champions. They got hearts of their Warriors, the champions. They're going to come to play whether they're banged up or not. They're going to play hard. So the line movement, it opened 5.5, immediately went up to 6, and some 6.5s bounced, but they disappeared real quick. And now the line's coming down because of the injuries, I believe, and the sharp money's coming in, taking advantage of that, and they've lowered the price down to 4.5, and a couple of 4s have popped up, but they disappear quickly. So that's what we're looking at for tonight. We don't know about Thompson. We do know Durant and Looney are both out. Iguodala, of course, he's not 100%, but he'll play. And Thompson says he'll play, but who knows if he's going to be effective.
Well, Thompson says he'll play, but they list him as questionable, and they really haven't made a commitment to saying he's going to be able to play. And how effective he'll be is something else if he does play, because he's got the hamstring injury, and it might affect his defensive capability and how many minutes he can give him. When he went out of the game in the second half, they went 5 minutes without scoring. And, he really carried him in the first half. And if he's not in there, of course, they ran that box and one on Curry, and it really affected him. And it means they'll just double up more on Curry. Iguodala's okay. He gave him more minutes than they thought he could give him in Game 2. And, of course, he gave him the key basket. Although he wasn't shooting well from outside, he gave him the key basket at the end of the game. And, the third quarter was key in that game. And, Golden State came out and scored the first 18 points that quarter and came back at the end of the first half to make it closer. So, but they did figure out a way to stop Siakam from hurting him. He didn't do very much in the game. And I think that, their top player is playing a little bit injured too. So, both sides are hurting.
That is true. That is very true. Yeah, Siakam and Gasol did not put up much in the second game. They went crazy in the first game, did great, but the second game they were shut down. It's going to be really interesting.
You know something? They really stopped Gasol in Game 2. He was not a factor very much at all on either side.
No, the biggest factor he was in the game was he had the collision with Looney, and which knocked him out for the rest of the year. Actually, he's not coming back at all. But no,
yeah, Bogut is a strong replacement for Looney, and as long as they've got two big men who can go and defend, and more importantly, get him second shots. That's what happened at the beginning of the third quarter. Without Looney, they were getting second and third shooting opportunities.
Yeah, Bogut stepped up, played Boogie Cousins, I should say, stepped up and played a heck of a game. He got a lot of minutes and a lot more than they expected to get, but a very, very interesting game. This is going to be a great game tonight. I can't wait to see it. The WNBA is in action as well tonight, one game. There's not a lot of great matchups in baseball today, but Boston Sale is pitching, and he's been more of a money burner for them, even though when he pitches well, it just doesn't seem to work out. It's been one of those years so far, but that can turn around very quickly. Boston is a very tough team. You go down the schedule here today. Peacock goes for Houston, and he's been on fire. And Leak also pitches in that game for Seattle. It looks to me like there's a little bit of money on the under in that game, and I can understand people thinking, the players thinking that there might be a good pitching duel there in that game. It's the Yankees go.
Well, everybody's on fire for Houston. They just don't lose. And I'll tell you, Oakland has been a pretty good play. Minnesota cooled yesterday a little bit, but they're hot. The Yankees lost 2 games in a row for the first time. Although they almost came back, they were beaten by 1 run. They only came up 1 run short. My man Frazier, by the way, hit a home run. I told you he wakes up for his problems with his bat, whatever they are. He had 1 bad game, and you jumped all over him. But he's been a key hitter for them. And they lost 2 games in a row. Tampa Bay isn't winning like they did last year, although they're keeping. And the Red Sox are hitting the ball pretty well, although I guess they won yesterday. They just didn't score a lot of runs, but they're getting some key hits, and they're doing okay. And Sale will be all right. He actually his pitches are moving around pretty good, and he didn't pitch all that bad. He made a couple of mistakes in his last start, but his previous starts have been pretty good.
No, he's been reasonably solid lately, but they're kind of playing into some bad luck in his games. They're not getting enough runs or whatever. It just works out sometimes that way. But you're right about Houston. They just keep going. Even when they have players hurt, they just keep moving right along. They got 42 wins on the season. The Yankees got 38 wins on the season, but they got Paxton going today. And he's a 190 favorite, 191, 197, 193. I see all kinds of numbers on him, but they're all in the 190s. And they're playing.
The Dodgers won their 7th straight game. I took the Dodgers in the under, and they got Ryu pitched a shutout, and they got 8 runs, I think, and the total was 10. So I had a good day on baseball yesterday. So, I'm still a guy who looks at streaks and looks at pitching matchups and how pitchers do against different teams, and those things have held up.
Well, that's a standard way of looking at baseball. I do the same, but there's a lot of now different ways of looking and measuring and hard hit and XFIP and FIP and all these things that I'm not going to go into trying to explain at this point. But there's different ways of measuring things today because you have the cybermetric people and all the algorithms that come into play, and it works and it aids in what we do. But yes, I look at matchups and home and away and day night and how teams do against other teams, and it all adds up, but it's a lot of work every day. And then when they're pulling your starters in the 5th inning, that doesn't help because you're not quite sure what you're going to get out of the bullpen, which is making it a little bit more difficult. You mentioned Tampa; they got a 35-win season so far, but they have not been as strong this year as they were a year ago, and their star pitcher, who after he broke his toe hasn't played as well. That's Snell. He got bombed yesterday. They got Morton on the mound today against Turnbull, but Turnbull has thrown in a couple of good outings, and if Tampa is going to go into a nosedive here a little bit, you might want to check. I'm not telling you to do it, but you might want to check out looking at bet against them because they carry some big prices, and if they're cold, you might be able to pick up some coin. They're just little things to look at.
Tomorrow, they're 2-2 in the Stanley Cup now. St. Louis came on with a very strong effort to even the series, and now they go back to Boston, and so the Bruins are. And by the way, all those games have gone over the goal total. So although the last one. One game went under, but the last game went over on an empty net goal at the end. Otherwise, the 5.5 would have stood up, and there was only a minute left. But that's what happens when they pull a goaltender, and that's one of the exciting things when you're betting hockey. If you bet the total, that you sit there on the edge of your seat, waiting for one of those long shots to go into the net. And it's kind of fun watching the end of a hockey game that way if you've got something going.
But
that series is evened up. And you got to give St. Louis credit. They bounced back after getting really trashed in Game 3, 7-2. And we'll see what Boston does now that they get back on their home ice.
Yeah, they're a 150 favorite, a 3-2 favorite in this game. And let me see if the series price, what the series price is. Almost the same thing. Boston is a 153, 155 favorite to win the series. And, of course, that's a 7-game series. But
well, they were 8-5 at the beginning, so now that it's even, it shouldn't change much from that.
True. Everybody go to JimFeist.com. Hank's hockey, baseball, basketball, and horses are all there. And we're going to have a good weekend with the Belmont, and we'll be back here on Friday, Hank.
All right, Jim.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Hank.
No shirt, no shoes, no problem. Free sunscreen at Wet n Wild Las Vegas, your local neighborhood water park. Put down the phone and tablets and join us. All you can scream, all you can slide at Wet n Wild. Check out our new food items, including funnel cakes and fresh salads. And there's still time to get your season passes. All this month, buy 2 season passes, get 1 free. And enjoy unlimited access and other great perks all summer long.
Not the music you were expecting? Know what you're getting into with your music and your internet. Straight Up Internet is $50 all in, no hidden fees. And like this music, you can even pause it. Straight Up Internet, know what you're getting into.